For 30 years, the people of the desert village knew him as the Silent One. His name was Apache, an Apache man with a tall frame, dark braids that reached his shoulders, and eyes that seemed to hold both fire and silence at once. From the time he was a boy, he had chosen the path of solitude. While other young men sought battles, wives, and children, he sought quiet. He built a small wooden home near the edge of the river, where the willows bent low, and there he lived with nothing but the sound of wind and the company of the stars. Rumors swirled among the villagers. Some said he had taken a vow to remain pure until his spirit told him otherwise. Others believed he was cursed, that no woman wanted him because of something hidden in his soul. But the truth was simpler, though far more difficult. Apache carried scars within that no eye could see. When he was 12, raiders from another tribe had killed his family. His heart had been shattered that night, and though he had survived, he had sworn he would never let himself love again, because to love was to risk losing everything. Years passed. He hunted, fished, carved tools, and helped the villagers whenever they asked. Mothers would sometimes tell their children, "Go to Apache if you are lost. He will guide you home." He was a man of honor, yet his heart remained locked away, untouched by tenderness, untouched by passion. He had never kissed a woman, never held one, never allowed his soul to walk that dangerous path. 30 winters came and went, and still he stood alone. But then came the day that changed everything. It was the middle of summer, when the sun painted the desert in gold and shadows. A knock echoed at his wooden door, sharp, desperate, trembling. Apache opened it, and there she stood, a young woman, no more than 20, her hair tangled with dust, her lips dry, her eyes wide with fear. She clutched a bundle in her arms, wrapped in a torn blanket. "Please," she whispered, her voice breaking. "They told me you help those who are lost." Apache's eyes dropped to the bundle. Inside was a baby, tiny, frail, with cheeks sunken from hunger. The child whimpered weakly, the sound barely rising above the desert wind. "They will take her from me," the woman said, tears spilling. "My family, they say she is a curse because her father was from another land. They want me to abandon her." She pressed the baby closer to her chest. "I cannot. But I have nowhere else to go." Apache felt something stir deep inside him, something he had buried beneath silence and solitude for decades. He looked into the young woman's eyes, so full of desperation and hope, and he saw not just her, but himself, the boy who had once lost everyone, the boy who had prayed for someone to save him. Without a word, he opened the door wider. "Come," he said simply. Inside his cabin, he gave her water, food, and a place to sit. The baby cried weakly, and he, with hands that had only ever carved wood and sharpened blades, reached out awkwardly. The young mother hesitated, then handed the child to him. And in that moment, Apache's world shifted. The small weight of the baby in his arms felt heavier than any weapon he had ever held, and yet lighter than air. The child's eyes fluttered open, dark and searching, and Apache felt his soul crack open like earth after rain. For weeks, the woman stayed with him. Her name was Marisol, and she had fled her village to protect her daughter, whom she named Esperanza, Hope. She spoke little of the pain she carried, but in the silence of nights by the fire, Apache listened. He watched her rock her baby to sleep, watched her smile through exhaustion, and he began to feel something he had denied himself for 30 years, connection. One evening, as the moon bathed the desert in silver, Marisol looked at him and asked, "Why do you live alone?" Apache hesitated. No one had ever asked him so directly. Finally, he answered, "Because those I loved were taken. I thought if I had no one, I would lose nothing." Marisol's eyes softened. "But to have no one, is that not also a kind of loss?" The words pierced him. For the first time, he realized that in protecting himself from pain, he had also denied himself joy. He had lived 30 years in emptiness, calling it safety. Days turned into months. Apache hunted for them, built a cradle for Esperanza from willow branches, and taught Marisol how to fish in the river. The villagers whispered again, saying the silent Apache had taken in a woman and child. Some mocked him, others marveled. But Apache did not care. For the first time, he felt alive. Yet life has a way of testing hearts just when they begin to open. One afternoon, riders arrived from Marisol's village. Armed men, led by her uncle, demanded the child. She does not belong among us, they sneered. Her blood is impure. Give her to us, or face the consequences. Marisol clung to Esperanza, her tears falling fast. Please, Akachita, she begged. Don't let them take her. Akachita stood tall, his eyes blazing. For 30 years he had avoided confrontation, avoided bonds that might shatter. But now, holding his spear in one hand and shielding the woman and child with his body, he declared, if you want her, you must go through me. And I promise you, none of you will succeed. The writers hesitated. They saw the fire in his stance, the strength of a man who had nothing to lose, but now, everything to protect. Something in his voice, in his presence, made them falter. Finally, the uncle spat on the ground. Keep your cursed blood, he growled. Then they turned and rode away, leaving dust in their wake. Marisol collapsed into tears, clutching Esperanza. And for the first time in 30 years, Akachita wrapped his arms around another human being not out of duty, but out of love. From that day forward, Akachita was no longer the silent one. He was a father, though not by blood. He was a protector, though not by obligation. The villagers began to speak differently of him, not as the man who lived untouched, but as the man who had opened his door and, in doing so, opened his heart. Years later, when Esperanza grew old enough to walk, she would run to Akachita shouting, Papa. And each time, his heart would swell with a joy he once believed he was not worthy of. One evening, sitting by the fire, Marisol looked at him with quiet gratitude. You gave us life when the world wanted us to vanish. Why? Akachita smiled, a rare and gentle smile. Because a long time ago, I wished for someone to save me. No one came. But when you knocked on my door, I realized I could be that someone for you. And in that moment, Akachita understood the truth. His 30 years of solitude had not been wasted. They had prepared him for this so that when love finally arrived, fragile and desperate, he would be ready to guard it with everything he had. The desert still stretched wide and silent, the stars still watched from above, but Akachita was no longer alone. He had discovered that the heart is not meant to live in shadows forever. It is meant to be broken open, again and again, until light pours in. And so, the man who had been a virgin until 30, untouched by love, became living proof that it is never too late to open your heart, never too late to choose compassion, and never too late to discover the family that destiny places at your door.